Tonight, Council received an update on social issues Monday night, specifically relating to Moccasin Flats. Plus, YXS is hoping to create more advanced airport firefighting training opportunities. And City Council is opposed to cutting snow removal services. Good evening, I'm Adam Burles and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story, frustration regarding ongoing safety issues and the money the city is spending regarding Moccasin Flats was evident at last night's council meeting. City Council discussed the future of the encampment and its plans going forward. Tommy Osborne brings us the details in tonight's top story.
It's an eyesore, it's a health and safety hazard, there's fire hazards, there's been several shootings there over the years.
City Council has grown increasingly frustrated with Moccasin Flats and is once again preparing to appeal to the Supreme Court to see if the encampment can be taken down.
The encampment's turned into this lawless area where people can come and go and do what they want.
I think we'll see a really marked improvement once we mitigate the encampment and move people into the housing that they deserve and the supports to a large extent that they need.
The Supreme Court ruled a few years ago that Moccasin Flats cannot be closed by the city until the city provides appropriate alternative options. This is another huge source of frustration for council, as it explains this is actually a federal or provincial responsibility, but it's the city that's footing the bill instead.
It's costing us literally millions of dollars for the encampments, for bylaw services staff, resources. We spent $500,000 just on hooking up services for some temporary housing down there. We just cannot keep paying out of our own wallets to fund programs that the province and the feds are supposed to pay for.
Has the city done enough to take down the encampment? Council certainly believes it has.
I think we've done all that we can as a municipal government to really move this forward and get a positive outcome when we take this to court and overturn the ruling.
Palillo says the benefits to taking down Moccasin Flats is quite obvious to him, citing crime in the area, as well as many fires and safety hazards, among other reasons.
The Miller Addition residents would be very pleased with that moving forward. They've had to deal with that with the encampment for the last three and a half years.
The folks in the Miller-Connaught area and the businesses downtown have had to shoulder this burden for too long, but we're making progress and it's going to end.
No set date is planned to see when the city will go to the Supreme Court to see if the decision to keep Moccasin Flats as protected land will be reversed, but the city says that could be happening as early as this December or January. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
The Prince George Airport Authority would like to see every airport rescue firefighter make their way here for training. And there's a very simple way to open the doors for that to happen. Cheryl Jan has more.
This tube represents the fuselage of a plane that has crashed.
The stated purpose for emergency response right at the airport is to provide egress for any survivors of an aircraft disaster. When the other responding agencies get on site, they are going to be taking over. It's up to us as an airport to provide that initial response.
And that's what the firefighters at the Prince George Airport train to do on a regular basis. And the fire training done at the Prince George Airport is like none other because it is the closest thing to a real emergency.
The facility we have here provides an experience that really allows them to develop their skill set. It is a live fire. We have a mock-up of an aircraft fuselage. We have a mock-up of aircraft wheel and brakes, which is often where an aircraft fire will start.
There are other training facilities in Canada, Edmonton, and another at Pearson International Airport in Toronto. But most of these folks go to the U.S. to train. The Prince George Airport Authority wants to make this training site the premier, but they need access to a contaminated fuel that will not be sold commercially.
That we have storage tanks here that we could put it there and then use it for not just our local firefighters and emergency responders, but ultimately I think there's a real desire for Canadian airports to have that experience that they often get down in the States with the larger fire schools there.
The federal NDP's transport critic gives full grades to the idea of training in northern BC.
You know, we have fire departments that are tasked with responding to incidents involving aircraft that are flying in difficult weather, in difficult conditions. A lot of our airports are quite small. And the more capacity that our fire departments have to respond to those emergencies, the safer our communities are going to be.
And if all the conditions are met, the timeline to turn around would be quick.
We could get that supply of contaminated fuel or surplus fuel. We would be up and running next spring.
There is a regulatory requirement that every year, every airport rescue firefighter has to fight a live fire. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
Police have charged 2 women with impaired driving following an incident last week on the 1600 block of Central Street East. Prince George RCMP say it occurred at noon on October 29th when a woman struck a parked car. Witnesses reported that the parked vehicle and the suspect vehicle were stuck together at the bumpers, and when police officers arrived, they found 2 women in a small black SUV stuck to a pickup truck. Witnesses say that the driver and passenger switched spots in the vehicle after the first collision. When the now driver attempted to leave the parking lot, she struck the same parked car as the original driver and a witness near the parked vehicle. The women were each arrested for impaired driving, and both women were registered over the legal limit and were served with 24-hour and 90-day driving prohibitions. They will appear in court on a future date.
Likely the driver's switch was in an attempt to confuse witness and police accounts so that police might drive past the vehicle if they were looking for a particular driver who was no longer in that seat. Thankfully, we had multiple witnesses report this offense as well as stay on scene to provide witness accounts to police when they arrived, and that's really what helped to kind of clinch this 2 drivers, 1 vehicle investigation for us.
Last night's City Council meeting saw Council discuss the possibility of cutting snow removal services to save money. While close to $1.3 million could be saved by cutting services like clearing residential driveways and lowering services on statutory holidays, every city councillor was strongly opposed to the idea of cutting services. While Council wasn't opposed to finding cost-reducing measures, it said snow removal is not the place to look, as councillors heard loud and clear that snow removal remains a top priority for Prince George citizens. Councillors added in that in the grand scheme of things, $1.3 million isn't a huge amount saved, so the downsides definitely weren't worth the savings.
We got calls and emails the past several days that people are stressed out that they're going to have to clear their driveways by themselves and the city won't do it. And I said that's absolutely unacceptable. We're going to continue that service. It's, in the whole scheme of things, it isn't a lot of money to provide that. So people, first responders, people getting in and out of their driveways, some of the elderly that still want to live at home, they said you can't do that. So we nipped that in the bud tonight and said no, our snow removal services are going to stay the same that they are now.
With the U.S. election in full swing, CKPG News took to the question to students at UMBC, asking their thoughts on the election.
What immigration policies, what education policies, what is the impact on reproductive justice for folks in the U.S. And obviously that just doesn't cater to women, but also like men.
I've got one that I'm certainly hoping lands that side up, but we'll see what happens.
A source of anxiety because like the U.S. is such a big powerhouse for even though we're in Canada and like you might be an international student, so you might not be from the U.S. The U.S. election will affect everyone globally.
Turning back to local news, the annual boot drive is underway at the fire pit put on by Positive Living North. Tomorrow is the last day for donations, though organizers are quick to say donations are welcome all year round.
Shirts, sweaters, boots, socks, blankets, and all manner of donations have been coming into the fire pit over time. This is the final push for the annual boot drive.
We get shoes, winter boots, socks, jackets, long johns. We get scarves, gloves, and hats as well. The challenge that we have mostly is that there's a lot of female clothing, few of male clothing, so that's a challenge.
The donations go toward preparing the less fortunate or those who find themselves on the streets with little to protect themselves against the elements. Every year, between 110 and 120 souls come to get help, and there's never enough.
But sometimes we do run out of things. For example, blankets, because that's another thing that we're accepting. So when we do distribution on Thursday, a lot of people that comes in will take blankets mostly, and then in a week or two, you're out of blankets. And then you're left with a lot of gloves and a lot of long johns, but then you don't have blankets and you don't have shoes, mostly.
Donations can be dropped off after 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow.
Tomorrow noon is the last day, but we're still collecting throughout. Because when it's not winter, we keep it aside for when it's winter. So you can drop your donation anytime, anytime.
Rosemary Jamal says items of all the warmest kinds can be dropped off at the fire pit all year round, where they can be stored in readiness for the next cold spell. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
The Canadian Union of Postal Workers says it's presented another pair of offers to Canada Post as the two sides work to prevent a labor disruption. The union's offers ask for a total of 22% in wage gains over 4 years for urban, rural, and suburban workers. The workers have voted in favor of a strike if a deal cannot be reached. A cooling off period in talks ended on Saturday, but the union has not given notice of intent to strike yet. However, it has previously said it won't shy away from taking the next step if there is no real movement at the bargaining table. A ban on the sale of raw milk continues after a recent dismissal of a case by the BC Supreme Court. But how hazardous to your health is unpasteurized milk? Sam Benison has more on this week's To Your Health.
And now To Your Health, brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
The BC Supreme Court has once again dismissed a review of the province's raw milk ban. But the reason it was banned in the first place is because unpasteurized milk can be lethal.
There are common pathogens associated with raw milk consumption. So for instance, you may have heard of bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, Campylobacter. All of those bacteria can be in raw milk. And when consumed, that can cause human health consequences, most commonly foodborne illnesses that can be very mild and can range all the way to very severe and can be as severe as leading to death.
Pasteurized milk is milk that has been heat treated to kill 99% of bacteria and is a process that involves 0 chemicals.
What we know from pasteurization is that it virtually eliminates all of these pathogens that we are concerned about in the milk.
In addition, there is no evidence that it reduces the nutritional value of milk.
From our scientific body of evidence, we don't see any nutritional differences between raw milk and pasteurized milk. We see that they're nearly the same in terms of macronutrients, right? So those are the carbs, the fat, the protein, and the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals that we find in milk. So for all intents and purposes, they are the same.
However, raw milk does have some added ingredients, but most of those are not part of a balanced diet.
We can predict that there will be contamination from feces and urine and all types of things found in the environment that a dairy cow may be in, right? And those are really where the pathogens come from.
The health benefits of milk are enormous, from improving bone health to being an excellent source of vitamins and proteins. However, just make sure that the glass that you're reaching for doesn't contain any nasty particulates. Sam Benison, CKPG News.
To Your Health, brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
The lowest gas price in Prince George is $1.46.9 per liter at Costco. This also happens to be the lowest price in the province right now. Manitoba currently has the lowest gas prices in the country on average at $1.24.5 per liter. Meanwhile, BC has an average price of $1.64.5 per liter.
Good evening again, everyone. We had a nice day out there today as we look back on our satellite map. Again, you can see some nice clearing with sunny sky in the mix for a lot of the day. This is a system here that's really the first of a couple that are coming our way. So this is going to create some instability overnight tonight and into the early morning. We are anticipating chances of flurries in the mix. We've got showers potentially as well, and even the risk of freezing rain. And you can see the pink in here is indicating the risk of freezing rain. So that will be overnight tonight and likely into the very early morning. So again, when you're heading out to work or school or wherever it might be out on the roads, just be careful as that early morning commute could be a little bit slick. Then we'll get a bit of a break through the afternoon tomorrow. We have some nice sunshine that will be poking through in the afternoon hours, and then a big shift in the pattern that will be consistent right through the rest of our week, likely, and through the weekend as well. So we are looking at a really unsettled pattern, a very wet forecast coming our way. Until then, though, this is what it'll look like. 7 degrees for our high tomorrow. Temperatures, by the way, going to be a bit milder beginning tomorrow and going through the rest of the week. Again, we've got some sunshine through the afternoon after we see all that instability with the showers, risk of freezing rain, moving on out through the morning hours tomorrow. 11 Fort St. John, that is a great temperature for you for your Wednesday. Beautiful weather. 9 in Kamloops, Kelowna as well, and much of the southern half of the province under the sunshine. Up towards the north coast and inland to Terrace, very unsettled. We know very, very gusty winds today and tonight, and a lot of rain, many millimeters of rain falling up there. So a really unsettled pattern for everybody up in the north coast. 7 degrees Mackenzie tomorrow. You're sitting at around 9 for Fort St. James and Vanderhoof. 8 in Quesnel. Going to hang on to a couple more days of dry weather before it shifts, but the majority of our region will see things changing as we get into Wednesday. So here's a snapshot of the country. 10 degrees in Vancouver. Beautiful day along the west coast. Going to be nice and sunny for the next few days after a lot of rain for everybody there. 7 in Edmonton. Sunny skies expected. Cooler and cloudier in Regina. +1 will be the high. So a real shift in the temperatures. But look at the temperatures further east. The eastern half of the country seems to be hanging on to almost spring-like temperatures and conditions. 21 Montreal, 20 in Toronto. Today was around 23 degrees in Toronto. So certainly a big difference to what we're experiencing here along the western half. Chance of showers for our late week, really mid to late week for most of our region, which you'll see here. Burns Lake, flurry or two tonight. -2 is where you'll get to for temperatures. Overcast tomorrow, much milder, and then there's all the instability to come after that. So lots of rain and even some flurries as the temperature starts to drop on Friday, Saturday. Mackenzie, a flurry tonight, -2 expected. 7 tomorrow, mainly cloudy. A few sunny breaks potentially in the mix tomorrow, and then there's the shift after that for Thursday and Friday. McBride, -7, clouds, a little bit of that icy mix in there, so the freezing rain is a risk tonight. A passing morning flurry tomorrow, and then a real shift as we begin the day Thursday and Friday. Quesnel, -1 tonight with cloud cover, sunny sky tomorrow, and then cloud cover on Thursday. Clouds with a few showers Friday. Saturday looks to be okay, so it's kind of a back and forth weather trend for Quesnel. And for us, a consistent wet weather trend come Thursday. Again, tonight, -2 overnight. We're looking at the risk of freezing rain, even some flurries in there as well. That'll be the case early morning. Breezy southerly winds through the day tomorrow, up to about 50 kilometers an hour. Sunshine, though, by the afternoon, and then we've got more of that rain on the way.
The TSX is up 132 points to close at 24,387. The Dow Jones is up 427 points to close at 42,221. And Artemis Gold went down 31 cents to close at $14.19.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Join the Domino's Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit domino's.ca to join the club.
The Prince George Cougars take to the ice at the CN Centre tonight in their only matchup with the Saskatoon Blades during the regular season. The Saskatoon Blades are currently sitting atop the Eastern Conference at 10-3-1-1 and are coming off of a shootout loss to the Victoria Royals on Sunday. The Cats kick off a 6-game home stand and are currently sitting at 9-4-2-2 and are second in the Western Conference. Veteran forwards and NHL prospects Riley Heidt and Cone Zemer are on history watch. For Zemer, he currently sits at 101 goals, which is 20 behind current Cougars record holder Chase Watala. And for Heidt, he is also on track for history, as Heidt is 27 assists away from eclipsing Mark Morrison's all-time Cougars record, who owned 235. Puck drop goes for 7 p.m. Yesterday saw action in the big three of fall sports as football, basketball, and hockey all took place last night. Tonight, CKP3 brings you the best plays of the night, including some big catches from the debut of DeAndre Hopkins.
Welcome to the Chiefs' DeAndre Hopkins.
Again, pressure. Mahomes was hit. Pass is caught by Hopkins.
All season long, the Chiefs were missing a true number one receiver. And if his first game is anything to go by, Mahomes and D-Hop should be a scary sight for the league. D-Hop ended his debut with 2 touchdown catches and 86 yards, and the undefeated Chiefs are looking even scarier than before. Like D-Hop, Grady Dick also enjoyed a huge night.
Grady Dick, right by everybody, lays it up and in.
Dick had 26 points on the night on 50% shooting, and his development from his rookie year has been everything the Raptors hoped it would be. Even though Toronto lost, it has to be happy with Dick emerging as a star alongside Scotty Barnes. On the ice, Jake Allen was a brick wall.
The Oilers gain the zone. Nice hand-eye by Stetcher, denied by Allen. The rebound! Sprawled out.
Despite being early in the season, Jake Allen picked up his second shutout of the year. He was sliding left and right and, in some cases, sprawling, as he held Edmonton and its superstars scoreless in tonight's CKP3.
Hello from the CKPG Today side. Got a great one coming up over here today. A little bit of research going on by students at College Heights Secondary when it comes to World War I veterans. Yeah, they've been looking at the ties between people who lived in Prince George and those who went to war. So we're going to explain that project. Plus, we're going to get to meet the actors of Sweeney Todd on the show today because it's coming up, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street at Vanier Hall. And you're going to want to go and see this production for sure. So, especially after you meet the lead actors. But to you on the other side, I know Eddie did a lot of acting, but you got any experience in that category?
No, I don't have any experience in acting. I never did any plays in school, nothing to that sort, so I cannot profess to be an actor of any sort. And if I did, it'd be very bad, so it's probably a good thing that we stick to doing this. Our final story tonight. The world's largest hockey stick is no longer hanging out outside the Cowichan Community Centre on Vancouver Island. It likely would have ended up in the landfill, but a Shawinigan Lake man had other ideas, and now you can own a little piece of it. Bart Robertson took ownership of the 62.5-meter long stick and its puck this summer after sections of it had deteriorated beyond repair. Since then, he's been creating these fobs, each containing a piece of the stick's handle, the puck, and the tape from the blade, complete with a laser-carved design. The plan is to launch an initial run of 6,000 pieces, and so far the demand has been extraordinary, but there is more than enough supply to meet it. Very interesting indeed, and cool if you want to own a piece of history from Vancouver Island and Duncan. That's all the time we have tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. CKPG Today with Caden Fantrell is up next, and for a recap of all your local news, Tommy Osborne will be back at 6:30. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great night.